Welcome to the Ohio Health Ice House, where today Blue Jackets Development Camp continues, and this is a special edition of CBJ in 30. I am Bob McElligott alongside of Jody Shelley. Don't we look a lot better today?
I think so.
If we do this enough days in a row, they'll get it worked out.
This is development camp. We're developing.
That's right. We're trying to develop ourselves in July so we can forget everything by September, right? But the Blue Jackets are back on the ice this morning. And, again, just to reiterate what this development camp is, this is a camp of prospects. Some of them were just drafted a couple of weeks ago in Philadelphia. Some of them were drafted last year. Some of them have been within the organization for a couple of years and have come to several development camps. And you even have guys like Thomas Larkin and Medeski. They have played in pro hockey at the ECHL level and the American Hockey League level. So there's a big spectrum of difference between these players. But what this camp is mostly about is to find out about the player and to allow the player to know what it's like to be a pro hockey player and really, Jody, the expectations of being a Blue Jacket.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of unknowns in any business, and when you come to professional hockey, a lot of these guys are at a level in junior or college where they think they've figured it all out, and they've done a pretty good job. I'm sure that they're superstars where they're at now, and then you get here and they're measuring where they're at with their peers and people they're competing with and guys that they will be playing with in Springfield or wherever they fit in the organization. And so this is a really important camp, and for these guys, they should be proud to be here with that jersey on, because that's a National Hockey League jersey, and that's a big deal back for their parents, their uncles and aunts, their coaches that they've had their whole life. So for them to be here today with the Columbus Blue Jackets, day 2 of this camp on ice, and that's Maryann Watkins. She's a power skater out of Pittsburgh. She's actually from Quebec, and she helped me develop my speed, Bob, when I was playing in the National Hockey League.
You were really
She's
fast.
really good.
You were really fast.
That was one of my things. I could really skate fast and good on my edges, and balance was good, and she really helped me with it.
It's good to see Maryann. There you get a good look at her, and as Jody said, she works out of Pittsburgh over at Robert Morris. But she has been with the organization in the past. She's come back to work with the skaters. One guy that I remember her working with a lot when he was in Syracuse a number of years ago was Andrew Murray, who was a big guy, was helping him to get his footing and really improved his skating. So obviously by her presence here today, that tells you one thing. They're going to do a lot of skating work in this practice today.
Yeah, and that's it's actually a good thing. She breaks the stride down. It's a lot of edge stuff, and it's amazing how she breaks the stride down. Here she is doing some kind of drill, open up her 10 and 2 edges, but she's very good at what she does. She's been doing this a long, long time. I know that when you go in her office in Robert Morris there, just down the highway, she's got pictures of Ty Domi, Eric Lindros, Kevin Deneen, all these guys. There's been a lot of hockey players that have seen her, and you know, she does great work. So I'm excited for her to be here today. And just to be interested to see how she handles a big group like this.
All right, those guys that you mentioned, they're not finesse guys. I mean, they're not those smooth skaters and scorers. You're talking about some tough guys, but she works with a lot of guys of a lot of different skill levels, I guess I will say, on the ice.
Right, and if you look at that, those guys had to do more work on their skating to stay in the league than a natural skater like Paul Coffey, who I don't know if he even spent time with a power skater. It's an important part. And when you look at an off-season of a professional athlete, it's time to heal, first of all, get away from the game a little bit, but then to get better. I mean, you look at a guy like Boone Jenner. He is expected to come in camp stronger, faster, quicker, which is not the same thing as fast, obviously, and you know, just a little more mature, a little more aware. And these powers, I know those guys, and including myself, not the best skaters, but if we didn't bring that little bit of, just a little bit of improvement every single training camp, then someone else was jumping ahead of us. So crucial part of your training.
And especially the way the game is played now in the National Hockey League, you've got to be a better skater than ever, wouldn't you say, the way it is right now, as fast as the game is now? Yeah.
I mean, you'll hear Jarmo Kekalainen talk a lot about no, he's not quick enough, or he's not fast enough, or he's not a good enough skater. Honestly, it's something that we all here, I think all these fans can pick out. If someone's not a very good skater, it stands out pretty easily. So you got to win puck races. You got to get to the puck first. You got to be able to back check hard. I mean, you're really at a disadvantage if you have a player or two out there who can't keep up with the pace.
And again, as you look at what the Blue Jackets prospects are doing on the ice right now, this is just one of those things in telling them what is expected of them. And we talked about this yesterday. A lot of these guys are going to leave here. They're going to go back to their junior team. They're going to go back to their college team. Some of them will wind up back here in camp, and they'll go to Springfield, and maybe some of them even make the Blue Jackets out of training camp. But no matter where they go, this is where you're telling them what you expect from them. This is what the standard is going to have to be if you want to be on this team in the future, and that's just kind of some of the stuff they're going over right now.
Yeah, and it's just we heard Coach Richards talk about yesterday about one of the important things that they're going to, the message that they will send is how to be a pro. Well, a lot of these guys probably have their own instructors at home, but to see NHL franchises having it, it just confirms that, yeah, you're doing the right thing in a lot of senses. But yeah, you're exactly right on the other part of it is, yeah, this is what you have to do to play in the National Hockey League. There's a lot of moving parts. These guys did cooking yesterday. Okay, so I mean, I know that sounds ticky-tacky. I said they probably cook rice and mac and cheese, but you know, the importance of nutrition, the importance of extra training like this, skill work with some coach who does just stick handling. I mean, you could spend 9 hours a day, 7 days a week training if you just sat at home and thought, oh, I need to work on my skating, now I got to do my stick handling, now I got to go cook something good, now I got, trying to improve. So having these trainers, like this is a day now, this is going to be a different day, obviously, than yesterday, which was all hockey drills and feeling the puck and working hard. This is more technical. She's already had them in there twice explaining what she wants, and now she's getting them to do a few other things with their skates. Actually, their body position here around the circles.
And one thing that you will know, or notice rather, you look at Josh Anderson right there taking his twirl around the ice. When you look at it from the wide shot, one thing you will not see on the ice right now is goaltenders.
Yeah,
they've already been out and they've worked with Ian Clark, but no goaltenders in these skating drills.
I just noticed that, and that's. I also noticed no pucks.
Yeah,
so
which is usually the worst practice ever as a player, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
Yeah, just leave the bucket of pucks on the bench. We won't need those today.
That's usually after you've done something bad, like blown a big lead or just not shown up for a game. So, this is more technical. I don't think these guys are. It's not like they're doing the miracle skate where they go, where the coach is just saying again, and they're just puking in buckets. They're thinking about what they're doing. They're trying to feel their edges and their body position over their skates. It's a different way of thinking, and I know what she's doing right now because when I was with her, she's trying to get the weight on the outside of the body instead of having all the weight lean towards the middle of the circle. It kind of throws you off balance, and it's foreign for a lot of these guys. But if they can take something out of this session with Maryann, even if it's one or two things, maybe they can think about when they're training, it'll help them down the road here.
Let me ask you about working with a lot of different coaches, because this is something that you'll have Maryann here today. You go back to your other team, and there are different people you work with. Is it tough to work with a lot of coaches?
It is. It is. And that's why you can't take too much. You can't call it the gospel. You can't say, oh, well, I have to do this today with Maryann. You have to take a little from what she does and digest it, and some of it will stick with you, and you can take home, and something. I mean, these guys might do a turn or something out here today, and they're like, wow, that feels so much better. That's kind of what I've been looking for. And, they'll take that back to their trainers. Some of the trainers will welcome things like that with open arms. Some of them, the ones who aren't very good, I think, will push any other outside recommendations away and say, no, this is the way to do it. So, and I'd say in this day and age, I mean, that was 10 years ago where a lot of trainers did that. Now I think the smart trainers are open to a lot of the new ideas, and who wouldn't be coming back from NHL rookie camp?
Well, and I think, or I would guess, and I don't know this 100%, so maybe I shouldn't even say it, but from the times even that I spent in the minor leagues, a lot of times you have trainers, they're younger guys, and they're trying to develop their craft as well. So I think back in the day you used to have guys that would hold those jobs forever.
Yeah.
And now it's more of a development just like it is for players. So they are open to more ideas. And guys are smart enough to know that working hand in hand with NHL trainers and instructors is going to do nothing but benefit them. And if they're open to that, it's going to make them better at their job, going to make them a better person, make them more valuable too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just part of being a pro is knowing what to take and what applies to you. But also, just think about that. They flew them in here. They've got them on the ice. The general manager, the president, the coaches, a couple of the scouts are watching, plus the fans. You're going to take everything that she says out there, because this is a valuable time that the organization has decided that this is what they want to do today. Well, yeah, you better take it with you better take it at high priority, because there's a purpose behind everything that's done for these young kids, and this is definitely something that will benefit them. And I mean, as far as this summer, I know. Listen, I never had a skating coach till I was about 32. And the things she told me and the basic things she taught me were incredible. And, you come to camp and the coach taps you on the pads and says, wow, you look quicker, or your skating has improved. Or even when your mom watches a game, she says, you look fast out there. She's going to say it anyways, but now you really believe her. So it's a good thing to have in your repertoire.
And that's, well, it's not amazing because it's just the way the game has evolved, but it took until 32 for you. Could you imagine if at 25, 27 you would have had that same opportunity?
Well, these guys are 19, 20, and no, I think it's the biggest part of the game. And some guys come across skating naturally. Some guys are stronger in their lower body and they get it. But even looking at these turns, you see some guys are so balanced out there when they're turning, and some guys kind of get rickety and kind of skip a little bit. Those are valuable tenths of seconds when you're trying to come up ice or turn up ice in transition, which is a huge part of the National Hockey League game. So these are little tidbits, but it's very encouraging for these young guys.
That's a good point that you make, because some of those guys, when they were just taking those turns, some of them you could see it going through their mind, what they had to do. Other guys were just naturally doing it, and then some guys you could see them thinking, I've got to do this. My weight has to be here. I've got to do this.
Which is hard for anything. I mean, that's really – when you think in professional sports, it usually hurts the team. That's what I've been told. But
how many times?
Don't think it hurts the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
But that's why they're thinking during this camp. That's why they're going over these things during this camp.
Technical session.
That's what it's all about here today. So you see the skaters working on that. The goaltenders have actually returned to the ice down at the other end, and it looks like a construction zone down at the other end, because they've got it coned off so that Ian Clark can just work with the four goaltenders.
Yeah,
and get a little privacy down there.
Privacy, and he's got the full attention of four goalies, and it looks like he's doing those angle drills again, which apparently are tough. Who'd we sit with? I sat with someone for a little bit yesterday in the beginning when the goalies were out there, and they had mentioned that those angle drills where the goalie goes down and up and then pushes over are actually much more difficult than I would think. So,
you didn't want to go try it though. You just took their word for it.
I mean, I just took the word.
I could see you putting the pads on one time. That'd be fun to watch.
No.
Well, you see these guys, the four pupils right there, are studying very much what Ian Clark is telling them about their angles and their positioning in between the pipes. Before we talk more about what's going on here, let's talk about what the Blue Jackets did yesterday as a team, and that is they got two guys signed to contracts. Corey Trop signed a 2-year deal yesterday, and Cody Golubev signed a 1-year deal. So, again, important pieces. Everybody focuses on the Ryan Johansson and needing to get his deal done, but there are a lot of things that have to be done. So instead of just sitting around and waiting for the big piece to get done, there are little projects that Jarmo Kekalainen has been working on, and two of them got completed yesterday.
Yeah, and you look at the subtractions of McKenzie, Como for the fourth line, and Jack Skilly, and now you put in, Corey Trop did a good job here last year. You can read the quotes from Jarmo and the coaching staff, how they were impressed with him. And you could tell by his ice time he got some pretty big minutes in crucial situations. He was banged up a little bit last year, so he's a young guy who's got the attitude that they want around here with the Blue Jackets. So good signing for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He brings that edge, too. He's a guy that had a broken jaw a little while ago, not too long ago. And that affects you for a while, longer than you would think. So I would expect Corey Trop to be a bright spot here in training camp in September, because he's got a lot more to give, and I know he wants to give a lot more. And Cody Golubev is one of those pieces to the blue line. He's a guy that's he's been a pro now for a few years. He's got a very good way about him. He's played NHL games. That experience every year, that experience helps an organization. Imagine these young guys down in Springfield now. A few of these guys looking up to a guy like Cody Golubev. So there's a leadership role there for him. And then Ryan Johansson, that's going to be one of those PK Subban. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch. I know fans will get nervous, but that's negotiating. That'll play out how it has to play out. I would assume. I know nothing, but about the contract specifically. But he's a restricted free agent who's played very well and put up big numbers, and he knows how valuable he is to the team, and so he will continue to ride that out. So interesting summer for Ryan Johansson, and I find it very interesting because there's 12 or 14 Blue Jackets players from last year's team, and who want to try to make the team next year, training here at Nationwide Arena, and Ryan Johansson's out in Vancouver, just doing his own thing. So he's probably doing the right thing, but when he gets that contract signed, I would expect him, if it is during the offseason, to be here working out with his peers.
Yeah, I would expect that too. And I forget when he came in last year, but I think he came in maybe 3 weeks before training camp started. So he would still be on a time frame to do that. But you're right. When it comes to him, he is in a position of power right now because he had a great season. He had 33 goals. Now, when you look at the sum of the parts, he had one great season, and the other two were, for lack of a better word, kind of lackluster. Not what they expected a 4th overall pick to do. Okay, that's fine. But he did have the great season when he needed to have it. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. I think that, as you said, negotiations are just that. Both sides have their ideal situation, what they want. Both sides are going to have to come off of that, and they're going to have to meet in the middle. And it'll just be a matter of timing as far as when that happens. I don't know. I really don't get the sense that it's volatile or anything like that. It's just business.
I think it's to be expected, honestly. I mean, the Blue Jackets aren't going to back up the Brinks truck and overpay him. And I think Montreal did a good job setting a standard with these bridge contracts, like a 2 or 3 year deal that says, okay, you did get rookie money for the first few years of your NHL career. You want to make all-star, superstar money right now, but let's look at your age. Let's look at really what you've done. Let's pay you nicely. I think it was $3.5 million Subban got for 2 years, and then after that, now Subban's going to get paid. I mean, he's going to make big dollars now, but he signed that contract and paid his dues and got that done.
And when you're right all about that. And when it comes to these bridge contracts, you look at last year. It was Sergei Bobrovsky was in the same boat. They got it done, and that would look like it might be a pretty tenuous situation.
And that was interesting. Sergei took a nice pay bump, but at the same time, it was good of Sergei to do that and come back to this organization and sign a 2-year deal, was it?
Right. Which he's going into the final year of.
So that's another interesting situation for the Columbus Blue Jackets, where you have a goalie that's one of the top 5 in the league, and he's looking for #1 money, so he'll eventually get that, I'm sure.
So the Blue Jackets continue their skating. Look at this guy. We're going to bring a guy.
You can turn that down over there.
We can turn that down. Yeah, sure, we can do that. But this one, I believe it is. Is that better? All right, have a seat there, sir. We are very pleased to be joined right now by Bill Zito, Assistant General Manager of the Blue Jackets. There he is. There's his big smiling face this morning here. You missed this? I know once upon a time you used to wear a headset and talk about this game quite a bit.
I was the color guy on the road games at the University of Wisconsin when I was assistant coach.
And you were exceptional, were you not?
In my own mind, I'm sure I was. Both listeners like me, my mom and my dad.
Well, that's great.
You got a great voice, Billy.
It's it's funny that you come here right now.
Hi, Ellie.
Because this is how Jody rolls. He just talks to everybody.
No,
I'm just kidding. But it's funny that you come up here right now, and I hate to put you on the spot. We were just talking about yesterday's signings, Corey Trott, Cody Goloubek, and then the Ryan Johansson situation that I know that you're very much involved with right there. And we were just talking about the fact that it's just all negotiating. It's just a part of business, is it not?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, thanks for the interview, Bill.
Thanks, I appreciate it. We'll see but people get very nervous about it, but it's just all part of the process.
Well, I think it's happening across the league and year to year, and it's just the normal part of hockey.
What is it like for you, who was an agent before you got into this side of the business, now to negotiate from this side of it?
It's really no different. It's when you break it down to the essential elements, you're just trying to solve problems and trying to figure out solutions. So it's the same. There's very little difference.
We were talking about Corey Trop and Cody Golubev, obviously two signings, important signings here. What about Corey Trop and the potential that he has to be a bigger part of this team this year?
Well, he came in and gained a lot of respect from I think from everybody, from the coaching staff through hockey operations with the way that he handled himself. And he plays with a little bit of an edge and a little bit of grit. He has a little bit of offensive upside, I think, and was certainly a scorer early on in his career. We like his hockey sense, his character. There's not much not to like about him. He's a real good person. He fits well in the room, and you know, when you watch him play, he brings it every night. So.
Can you explain hockey sense to me? Because I know I have it, but I can't explain it.
Oh my goodness, Bob.
You're not so sure. You're not
if
sure
you can't explain it, you don't have it.
He's going to be great in this business, isn't he?
Oh my
When
God!
you sit up here and you watch players do drills, I mean, is it easier to see hockey sense in game situations, obviously, when the puck is dropped and players are on 3-on-2s, or is it just something that going to the right position all the time? And who would have the best hockey sense on or that you've seen lately in the NHL?
It's a funny thing. So for the people who don't know what we're talking about, hockey sense is basically instinct, knowing where the play is going to go before it goes, or anticipation, and also seeing players, whether it's offensively or defensively, again, being always aware of where everybody is when you may not necessarily see them in your vision. One thing that it's important to note about the National Hockey League, and Jody, you can speak to this because you were there, you cannot watch and react. If you see someone open and the puck's not gone, they're not open by the time the puck gets there. So you need to anticipate that that person's open and know that they're going to be there. With that said, when you watch games, and you watch a lot of games, you don't have to have played in the National Hockey League to do it. You'll see the play developing. You'll see if a guy is skating real fast down the left wing and it's a one-on-one and there's another guy coming late. Well, the guy with the puck doesn't see him. He's looking forward, but he knows he's there, right? You see him, and so from up top, obviously it's much easier. One interesting element to the hockey sense thing is and I use Artem Anisimov as an example. So many times defensively, it's what you don't do that makes the play. So, for example, when you're killing penalties, if you stand in the right place in front of the shooter, he's not going to shoot because it's going to hit you. And if you put your stick in the right place, he's not going to try to make that fancy pass because your stick's there. So how many times does defensive instinct as far as where to stand, how far away from the D so that you can close the lane, so that's not an option, but you're close enough that he thinks, yeah, it's going to hit him, I'm not going to shoot that either. So you've impacted his decision making. You've forced him to do something other than what he had intended, right? Make the fancy pass or shoot the puck. And you know what you did? Nothing. You just stood there. He's standing. Look at how good he is standing there. And that, but it's, you know, it just makes sense if you break it down after the fact and you say, see what he did here? He didn't do anything. But it's hard sometimes, I think, for fans to appreciate and understand it. It's hard for scouts and players similarly, unless you break it down and you really think about it.
And I think, too, when you see a player that doesn't really have much hockey sense, that's when you appreciate the player that gets it, that doesn't take that extra stride or two, and now he's out of position, and there's now 2 lanes open in the offensive zone past the puck.
Yeah. And I think it's something that happens more, this might be a controversial thing to say, but more from Americans, at least in my generation. We grew up playing football. And if you played football, it was all in, 100% focus, going crazy with your emotion and your drive, and you're moving forward and you're making the play. But hockey's more like chess than it is like football. And sometimes frequently less is more. And you need to have balance and patience. And it's okay just to wait, just to hang out. It's not all work, it's not all effort all the time. So it's a balance and sort of
That's interesting.
weaving all of the different concepts into the game. It's what makes it fascinating and lots of fun.
Now, all of that being said, when you're talking about hockey sense, I think sometimes you can just assume that it's a guy that has a lot of experience at the National Hockey League level that's going to have a better hockey sense. But a point that would counter that would be Ryan Murray and the way that he played last year as a rookie. Can you talk about his hockey sense and the way that he anticipates and the way that he sees the game maybe a lot better than some other guys?
Not being Ryan, I'm going to assume a few things. I guess the easiest way for me to try to explain it is for people maybe people from Columbus who've come to Chicago and they believe that driving downtown is daunting. Oh my goodness, there's cars everywhere, there's exits and on-ramps and trucks and taxis. Well, when you live there and you become accustomed, it's no different than anywhere else. On-ramps, off-ramps, right? Stop signs, stoplights. But Ryan Murray, when we plunked him down in an NHL game, it would be as if we put him in Chicago or New York or LA traffic. He didn't miss a beat. Just, yeah, okay, I'm comfortable with that. I understand. I see that.
No
That's
panic.
the best way. No, it's just as if he's always been there, and he gets it. That's the Reader's Digest answer.
Well, and that's a perfect
That's what we
answer.
go for on this.
Yeah, there's no doubt. like the former color analyst that you once were. Well done. So now you look at this camp, and you saw a situation where last year Ryan Murray and Boone Jenner jumped right into the NHL and became impact players in the positions that they had. When you look at this camp, are you looking for anybody to necessarily be that kind of guy again this year, or how do you look at it as an assistant GM? When you're sitting upstairs and watching, what are you looking for from these kids?
From this camp?
Yeah, from this
So we're really not using it for evaluation purposes beyond work habits, character, interacting, and more on a personal level. This is really for instruction and education for the players, to give them resources and tools to help themselves be better, to help them. Today we're doing power skating with Maryann, and she's been an NHL power skating instructor for 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to work with her.
Yeah,
I was
and
happy to see her.
Jody and his good buddy Sidney Crosby trained with Maryann.
And we do different drills.
And Bowler. Jody, Bowler, and Sidney. They're
Well, yeah, I
all
brought the
similar skaters.
Yeah.
The point was I made to Bob, sorry to interrupt you, is if I didn't work on my skating and come to camp a little bit better, then I was getting past. So I had to improve, and using Maryann as a tool, and I didn't use her till I was 32, it really helped me. Yeah, I wasn't the best skater, but she helped me improve to a level where, hey, I wasn't falling behind too much. I was getting what I needed from her. So that's why that's crucial.
So today, obviously, you're not going to impact somebody's skating style in a 2-hour session at development camp. But what we're doing is provoking the kids into thinking, when I go back home, what do I need to work on? This muscle group, I need to develop that off ice. I should be doing this on my own in July and August, working on my edges, doing these quick drills. Where can I get more information? Hey, guys, can I get Maryann's number? Maryann, do you know somebody in Vancouver that I could work with? So it's gonna, the onus is gonna be on the players to take the information and work with it and grow and get better.
Is there any concern, like what you just talked about? We've been talking about this for the last 2 days. If these kids are going to leave here, they're going to go back to wherever they play, whether it be junior, college, whatever it is. Is there ever any level of concern that when they leave these types of camps that you really don't have that control, because hockey's not set up in the same way that baseball is, where you get a guy kind of in your system and you bring him up through all the levels. You really don't get that control until they're a pro, until they're 20 and they're playing either in the AHL or the ECHL. So from a management standpoint, is there ever concern that you give them all these tools and you leave here, but you don't know how much of it they put into play?
I don't know if concern is the word, but you do the best you can with the cards that you're dealt. And I think that the good players and the players who will eventually play in the NHL will take the resources and use them. And the guys who don't will fall by the wayside. I don't, they got here through those programs. So they're doing something right. So, whether it's college or junior or what have you, they managed to put themselves in this situation through those sort of entities beyond our control. But I do think for the most part that the guys actually do try to assimilate some of the things that they've learned into their habits or into their regimen or take it with them through next season. I wasn't here last year for this camp, but I do know that in speaking to the guys who were, that indeed they did see a lot of value on an individual basis and had discussed some of the things that they had used last season to continue to develop and get better.
And I guess actually, in all fairness too, I should point out, and I haven't done this, Chris Clark is your development coach. And he does spend the winter going and checking up on these guys and going to watch them play and talking with them. And I would imagine for a lot of young players, he will be the Columbus Blue Jackets to them. He will be their contact guy until such time that they're here in training camp competing for a job. I mean, he's kind of the face for them, right? As he travels?
Yes, and he does a wonderful job, and he interacts on a personal, professional level with them. I think he saw T.J. Tynan 8 times last year. So it's not just, he doesn't just check in. And he breaks down the tape when he's not there. He watches the games, and he interacts. And how do you feel about this? What do you think about that? Why? Are you having problems? Are there solutions? Can I help? Everything from being a friend to a coach to a mentor to a critic. And it's an invaluable resource. He knows the players inside and out and does a great job.
That's incredible when you think about some of the character issues or character traits some of these kids have. And we said to Todd Richards yesterday, there's a lot these kids don't know. And you think some of them think they have it figured out. We all remember when we were 18 and we had, the world was, I mean, my dad was the dumbest guy on earth, right? I knew everything. But now I look back and I appreciate everything he's done. And it's kind of the same thing. You look at Sonny Milano, who got drafted 10 days ago in Philadelphia, and here he is with a Blue Jackets jersey on. You know, he's got that video of doing whatever in the parking lot, but what he's learning here and where he's gonna grow from this camp to 3 or 4 years from now, all these little details, it's pretty amazing. It must be great for you guys to see these guys come in wide-eyed and eager.
It is. It's also great to see them interact with each other, and the friendships and the groups that they fall into. We had some activities going on yesterday, and I was very proud of the interaction between and among all the different guys. And culturally, we were just kind of sitting around BSing, and we have the Swedes, the Finns, the Slovak, Czech, a young man from Japan, French Canadians, Elvis, he's Italian, Swiss, and Latvian.
Oh, wow.
The Western Canadians, the college kids, Sonny's from Long Island. I mean, it is a true melting pot, and just culturally, hockey aside, seeing everyone interact and get along, it was great. It really reflected, I think, a level of emotional maturity.
Yeah.
That I think is one nice thing about playing hockey at a high level. I think it elevates your emotional maturity in many ways socially. And gives you an appreciation of people from all over the world.
Well, they're doing there's the young man from
Japan. I wanted to ask you about Ryo
Mm-hmm.
Hashimoto, who we're looking at right there, number 84, coming over from Japan. How did he wind up in this game?
Well, Nate Scotto was working with the Japanese national team and was there, and they had asked him if he could help. They're trying to elevate Japanese hockey and trying to move forward and hopefully someday get into the top pool. And said, hey, listen, is there any way we could send a representative to the camp? And he brought it to us. We thought it was a great idea. Raya's, he's been great. He's been great so far. Fits in fine on the ice. Off ice has been wonderful, and we're thrilled to be able to do it.
Did you do any homework on him? I mean, did you make sure that you were getting a player that would be able to come over here and kind of hang with the other guys and not be I don't want to say outworked, but that the skill level was where it needed to be for this camp? Yeah,
Scotty Harris had broken down some tape, and he played in the B-Pool World Championship, so we had a pretty good idea. So, yeah.
Very good. Bill Zito, Assistant General Manager, joining us here on CBJ and 30 special edition at Blue Jackets development camp here. All the prospects still working on their skating, all lined up there. And you mentioned TJ Tynan a moment ago. And he went to Notre Dame, played a couple of games in Springfield last year at the end of the season. Jody and I were watching him yesterday. We were watching his hands. Another one of those guys that he's kind of small in stature. I think he's listed at 5'8". But those kind of guys, they're finding a way in this league right now. How much have you seen of him?
A lot.
A lot?
Yes.
Okay. What are your thoughts on it?
TJ needs to get a little thicker, right? If we look at the small guys, so let's say 5'9" and below who make it, you have one or two whose speed is just so exceptional, right? And the balance of them are a little bit thicker. They're rugged. They can get into traffic. TJ is a guy who maybe plays too hard. His effort and focus and compete is so significant that he's probably going to, as he evolves through pro hockey, get into a little bit of trouble initially until he gets comfortable knowing who he can challenge. In college, he can go into the corner against most of the time the biggest guy and come out all right. When you get to the NHL and you do that, you may not come out. So he's going to have to pick his battles. Defensively, he's going to have to. And it's just a learning process. But his compete level is so high that he needs to actually tone it down a little bit. His skating is fine. You can see how explosive he is in his skating. He has an excellent hand and shot. In the college ranks, he was a little, we talk about hockey sense, he was a little bit above the curve, and I think some of his play was frustrated by not having similarly, or players of a similar mindset from an offensive standpoint. But the fans will really, I think, appreciate you get a really honest, hard effort from him every single shift. There's no shifts off. He was a little kid that nobody wanted, whether it was college or the draft. He wasn't drafted his 18-year-old year. He went to Notre Dame and was a leading rookie scorer in the NCAA and then got drafted. And he's just a kid who overachieves and continues to improve and get better.
So he's motivated, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Those guys are.
Yeah.
And it sounds like he's a guy, and I think, when I'm asked personally, how do I make the NHL? How do I make professional hockey? You have to find your role, and it's not at the major junior level. Some guys find their role and they can take it to the next level, but you can't just be great at everything. You have to find a single role. So he sounds like a guy that has it, but needs to be a little bit molded.
Yeah, and it remains to be seen whether that offensive role is whether he's good enough and fast enough offensively to be a top six forward in the National League. If he's not, can he be a fourth line guy and play in the second power play because of the skill? The size is going to get in the way, but if you know TJ, you don't worry about it. He'll rise and whatever level he's capable of achieving, given his size and his skill, his God-given ability, he'll reach it. It's just figuring out where that is.
Now, Billy, you speak of these players, and you obviously have a lot of insight. You know a lot of things about them. Same conversations. Would you speak the same way when you were an agent about players, or is this a different way to approach this for you in 1 year turnaround?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, you're talking about his intangibles, how he's got to grow, and what he's got to do to make an NHL team. But when you're recruiting a player to be with your firm, is it a different approach for you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the evaluation is the same.
It's the same?
You are what you are, whether I'm an agent or whether I'm a scout. If you need to get
progress.
better, you need to get better. I don't.
Do you find yourself progressing this year? As far as, it's different.
As far as my ability to evaluate her,
yeah, differently, that.
For sure. The one thing as an agent, it's very easy to get caught up in the believing your own ideology is there's no downside if you're wrong. So if I tell you I think TJ Tynan is a National Hockey League player, he's fast, he's got excellent hands, excellent hockey sense, great shot, great release, his compete level's high, he has quickness, acceleration, and speed, he can play defense, he goes in first in the corners, he's not afraid. I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm right. That's what he is. So I tell you I think he's an NHL player, and you take him and he's not, then I have a second kick at it as an agent. I say, well, subjectively, you didn't use him the right way.
Oh yeah,
right.
Why is he playing with that guy?
And maybe you didn't. Right.
Yeah, good point.
So, who made you God?
Right.
Why is the way that you think you use them the way that that's wrong? And if you, on the other hand, the NHL team, you say, okay, I see that. I take him and he can't play. No, you're fired because you're wrong. So you have downside, and as the agent, you don't, and you have the built-in. Well, if you would have utilized him a little bit better, it could have been differently. And when we would talk as an agent, when I would talk to the kids, and even now, I'm not afraid to break it out. Let's say there's 900 players in the NHL, right? 30 teams, 30 guys. Pick a random number. Well, I'll just say 400. 400 of them are so good, and their God-given ability is so substantial that they're in the league. They can be late. They're going to play. They can be bad guys. They're going to play. They can not try. They're going to play, right?
Yeah. They
can be lazy. They're going to. They can be fat. They're going to play. So then you go maybe from 400 to 700. That's another 300 guys. Maybe there's 1,000 guys who all equally could claim one of those 300 jobs for whatever reason, right? And then from 700 to 900, maybe there's 10,000 guys. No, there's not that many, right? But there's maybe 2,000, 3,000 who. So somewhere this season, say there's 900 guys, and somehow we could figure out players 899 and 900. I promise you, there's two guys not in the NHL who are way better than those two guys.
Right.
Not even close. Just nowhere near. And they're going to come and they're going to say to their agent, "I'm better than that guy, number 899." And yep, you are. I'm bigger. I'm faster. Yep. Well, why aren't you there? Right? So for some guy, just dumb luck, right? But he's not the only guy who's better. There's another 1,500 guys who are better.
Yeah.
So what happened? Maybe his junior coach got the assistant coaching job and said, I know this guy, so that's why he gets in. Maybe there's a great, I don't know if you heard the story. Rick Dudley, who was the assistant general manager of Montreal Canadiens and a former NHL GM for a number of teams, was the coach and GM of the Detroit Vipers in the International Hockey League, which is not unlike the American League now. And he had training camp, and they had a skate on Monday, and they made cuts after the skate, and they invited the players in. They said, "I'm sorry, it's not going to work out for you, son, but good luck to you, and we'll give you a good reference." And the day ended. He went home. He came back for practice the next day. And he looked, and one of the guys that he had cut was skating on the ice.
I love the story, yeah.
So he went to the assistant coach, and he said, did you bring this guy back? Didn't we release him yesterday? He goes, yeah. Well, we were all in the room. He thanked us and gave us handshakes. So Rick skated up to the guy, and he said, "Excuse me," he said, Didn't I cut you yesterday and release you?" He said, "Yeah." And Rick said, mind me asking, "What are you doing here?" He says, "Coach, that was yesterday. Today is today." He kept him for the practice. He made the team, and they won the championship. His name's Andy Bizzo. He was like a tough guy, runaround type guy. Andy Bizzo figured out how to make it, right?
There you go.
Just
Wouldn't
don't
go
leave.
away.
So, yeah.
No, I'm not leaving. You're wrong.
So, but I bring up the point to illustrate that you as a player and as a person who want to achieve it, who want to make it, have to figure out what it takes. How can you get to be one of those guys? And you know what? It may be that just can't happen for you. It's just luck that you can't. You did everything you could, and you couldn't make it. But I would think that for players who take situations like this and opportunities to learn and opportunities to grow and get feedback on how to get better in all areas of your game, from your on ice, your power skating, to your off ice, to your character, to how you treat other people, and you make yourself a better person and a better player, you're probably gonna, you know what, you got a chance at one of those someday. I believe. Like, okay, how old were you? Were you drafted?
No.
Okay, so 18 on draft day.
Right.
You suck.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can't play.
I know.
And then 19.
I was in junior. No, I didn't get
'Kay.
drafted.
All right. So if you just went the average route, sorry, I didn't make it. You're done. But
Right.
you didn't. You got better, and you figured out a way.
Right. And I had to fight, and I wasn't a fighter, so that's it goes back to knowing your role. And I had a heck of an agent.
What were you? What were you?
What was I?
If you weren't a fighter.
I was a goal scorer. Good hockey sense.
Oh, Bob.
No, listen.
Oh,
Check
my.
out my stats.
Oh,
Junior.
my.
Yeah, in all honesty, this guy came in. I was in Johnstown in the East Coast League, and he was with Calgary.
You
and
can
he
tell
comes
when we
in,
skate together.
He comes in. He comes in, and people, and you're looking at the numbers, and you're going, "Oh, this guy's going to score goals." I don't know if he scored 10.
His nickname in the old timers skate is Secretariat. He thinks it's because he skates like a racehorse. It's because he's got the blinders over the eyes.
Yeah, right.
He thinks passing
You
is a
gotta
city
get
in
open.
China.
You got to get open. You got to work to get open. I'll get you the puck.
I got 7-Eleven on my jersey. I can't get one pass. I'm always open.
I haven't seen you hit the net yet this year. We skate together for those listeners that are listening.
At least you guys aren't competitive in your skates. That's,
Well,
We lost the competitive edge with Danny Hino.
that man
I
was
heard he was
competitive.
pretty intense.
Fairly. No gear.
Wouldn't wear pads. Blake Jeffrey comes on the ice against probably, I probably shouldn't be talking about that. I won't. Never mind.
Yeah.
Let's just say he was competitive.
Competitive. I see Warren Reichel is here with Bob Buchner.
Yep. So he
Checking
must
out
be
his
here to
son.
see his son play. That's great.
Yeah. Is there a game tomorrow now? There's a 3-on-3.
Thursday night, Thursday afternoon, 4:30 to 6, we're going to have a 3-on-3 tournament and encourage the guys to have fun and open it up and do the silly things and, you know, basically play a fun, spirited game of pond hockey.
Summer hockey.
Yeah. So
I want to ask you about the goaltenders before we go here, because the way it's set up right now in Springfield the last couple of years, and I know you've only been here for about a year, but there's been that veteran goaltending presence. And this year it seems that you're okay with going with Anton Forsberg and Oscar Dansk, two young guys. Two things about that. Number one is how comfortable are you with the two young guys and not having that quote-unquote third guy that can come up in the event of an injury? And the second thing is there any concern about getting enough ice time and enough playing time for both those guys to develop?
Well, you're talking to the guy who represented Tim Thomas and Antti Niemi. So I have and Tuukka Rask. So I have a pretty high opinion of European hockey. Mm-hmm. Anton Forsberg's been a goalie in the Swedish Elite League for 3 years. On any given night, now it's called the SHL. The SHL champion, we play there, would beat Springy 7 out of 10. They play here, probably we'd win 7 out of 10. So it's a comparative league. It's different from the Angles. In many of the rinks, there's a bigger ice surface, but it's not like he's a young pup or a rookie. Oscar Dansk is a wonderful skill set. Had struggled a little bit last year, had a tough year, and has rebounded. And if you talk to him, it's real easy to understand what happened to him and why, and we're very comfortable with that. Jonas Korpisalo is going to be the #1 goalie in Ilves in the Finnish Elite League, and Elvis is in Lugano in the Swiss League. So we have a bunch of young goalies basically playing all at the American League level. From a development standpoint, it's wonderful. With regard to I had the exact conversation yesterday with Ian Clark. Can you develop two goalies at the same time in the American League? My concern was, because it's a weekend schedule, you could go a week with no games, play one on a weekend, and then not play again till the next weekend. So in 14 days, you only have one game.
Ooh,
and he said, no problem. There's no concern at all. it's practice is the work habit. Practice is where you get better. Practice for a reason. It's do you want to hear a story?
Sure.
I have a good one.
Good.
That's what we do here.
Years ago, I was talking to Marty Brodeur about Jaromir Jagr, and this was when he was in his prime. And remember, in Pittsburgh, he wanted to leave Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And he was not really trying that hard. And we were talking about old timers hockey, and Marty was telling me how much fun. He goes, I love playing old timers hockey. I'm awesome. I dominate. I said, Marty, you think? He said, no, I'm not goalie. I play forward. It's awesome. It's so much fun. Oh, it's the greatest. So we were kind of BSing back and forth, and we were talking about Jagr, and he said, I don't understand. How can Jagr not have fun? If you watch him, he's bigger than everyone else. He's faster than everyone else. He's more skilled than everyone else. If I was him, I'd be skating by me saying, hey, Marty, I got you for 3 tonight, baby. There's nothing you can do. I'd be talking to the guys. And then someone like wanted to get, I just run him over. I'd go to Scott Stevens. Scotty, step up all you want, buddy. I'm going right through you. And I would have so much fun. And you know what? If I don't want to play D, who cares? Just give me the puck. And the NHL for Jagr is like old timers thing. So I said, yeah, wow, when I think about it that way, yeah. I said, wait a minute. You're kind of the goalie version of Jagr, right? So are you that way when you play? Like if you're feeling it, are you chirping at the guys and laughing? And he said, no, I don't have fun during the games. What? I don't. Since I was a kid, all I focus on is the next shot. That's it. If I make a save, I know sometimes I make big saves. I don't get excited or happy or even think about it. I'm just, what's the next? And I've conditioned myself and programmed myself. That's how I think. I don't get nervous. I don't get excited. I don't get any. It's almost like I think like a robot. He said, but practice, that's where I have fun. I love practice. I can't, if the guy's scoring me in practice, I get mad at him. If I'm feeling good in practice, I'm chirping at everybody. But that's how you get better. You have to do it in practice. So it's a nice lesson.
So when Ian Clark told you about practice and already having that conversation with Maryann Brodeur,
one of the best.
You were sold, right?
Yep. You can trust those two guys.
That makes a ton of sense. And talk about that Springfield team before we let you go. It has the potential to be a very young and exciting group this year, doesn't it?
Well, it's already young.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, you don't want to be too much of a cheerleader in the summertime if you want to be realistic. But you can see the players and the type of players that they are and the enthusiasm and excitement that they bring. Anderson, Reichel, Dano,
how you doing?
Wenberg. I mean, it's an exciting time, but you have to play the games, and Jody can speak to this. It's a hard league. It's really hard. You make the AHL. You make mistakes in the AHL and the puck's in the net, and you'll be with, you're asked to make plays that are much harder than in the NHL. If I have the puck in the NHL, I find Joey. Okay, and I'm off the hook.
Right.
Right. Down there, you may not have a Joey. So you've got to, and if your Joey isn't open because he's learning and he's adjusting, so now you've got to make plays, and you've got a big guy running at, and it's 3-3 and Sunday afternoon, and everyone's tired, and it's hard. It's a very, very hard league.
You know what I remember about my days when you talk about the potential of players that can be on your team, and all those years I was in Syracuse, you'd always look at the rosters and say, oh, you might have this guy, this guy, this guy. And then guess what? They make the NHL team.
Yeah.
And then you don't even have those guys.
Yeah.
So like you said, there's really no need to get excited in July. However, that being said, there is the potential to have two really young and talented teams here and one ready to feed the other.
Yeah. And it's, JD talks about he wants the guys when they come up to be overripe.
Right.
And that means when they step in and there's no learning curve. It's a little bit, obviously, but they step in and they're able to produce and contribute at high levels immediately. And that's a hard thing to do, at least my experience as an agent and watching for 20 years. And you sort of get familiar with the organizations who do it. And it can be frustrating for the kids. Overripe means, yeah, you were ready last year.
Yeah.
And you're still in the minors. And you're saying, I don't want to be in the minors anymore. I want to be in the NHL. But those kids who fight through it and who work and who see the big picture, when they get there, boom, they're off and running. And it's a great plan. And you have to balance that with some kids are ready. Like, they're ready now. So, Ryan Murray.
Yeah.
I mean,
but how did you guys feel about him coming to camp? He was going to make the team? I don't remember.
I hadn't seen him from an evaluative standpoint prior to Traverse City, but when you watch him in Traverse City, you knew, right? The guy played 5 games. He didn't make a mistake. He just was exceptional. And even there, you kind of got a hint of Boone. You wondered if he was going to be able to take that enthusiasm and that work ethic and be able to execute the same against the bigger, older, stronger, smarter guys as he was, because he kind of picked apart the rookies down there, and he was. And obviously, his track record speaks for itself. But that would have been one. So coming out of Traverse City, if you asked me, I'd say Murray's a slam dunk. To me, he's a bigger Kimmo Timonen.
Yes,
guy
I agree with you 100%.
And Boone, the cheerleader in me was, this guy is, he's ready to go right away. But I would have to be a little bit, we just needed to see it at the NHL level, and indeed the guy stepped in without blinking.
Alexander Wenberg, he just scored a goal here a moment ago in the drills that they're doing right now. As you look at him, will he be a guy, especially Traverse City? You bring that up, and that's a great tournament to evaluate when it's the best young players from different organizations going head-to-head. As you said earlier, this isn't an evaluation camp per se. Traverse City, is he somebody that you'll have a really close eye on in that tournament? Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. As we will with all of the guys who we think, have the potential to step in.
Step in this year.
You never know, right? Until you see it, and it's the first step. And I would say to any fan who wants a nice weekend, if you're a hockey fan, and you get in the car and drive up or get yourself there, it's on the lake, it's gorgeous. Traverse City is a great place, and the games are awesome. The kid, it's taken very, very seriously, and the effort is there, and the kids know. They all know, it's the Detroit guys and the Columbus kids and the Rangers picks, and now that guy was drafted high. I'm going to show you, and it's real competitive. It's exciting, and it's, I don't know, do they charge?
I think they do.
Like $5 or something. I mean, it's and you can sit there all day, and the rinks are great. It's a great hockey weekend.
The kids are fired up because you look in the stands. There's Glenn Sather, John Davidson, all the scouting staff, all the GMs, and do the coaches go?
Yep, coaches go.
I mean, it is like Babcock.
It's a who's who of hockey, just like this.
Those kids
just like sitting out here, and you can talk to anyone you want. Everyone's accessible, and everyone understands. All of the execs understand the people are there because they love the game, and it's exciting. So if anybody is, what is it, the 14th, 15th that weekend?
Is it?
Yeah, but
they'll all be saying, "Hey, there's Bill Zito up there.
Yeah,
Let's go talk to him." No,
you're gonna be unguarded.
Jody and I will flank you.
I'll be at the pizza stand.
Are we going to that, Bob?
I don't know. We got to work on that.
This show would be unbelievable by the lake.
Billy, maybe you can be our agent when it comes to that.
Imagine with the lake in the background.
Yeah,
do this show.
It would be.
People would really appreciate that.
They really, really would appreciate.
Especially at the end of the summer.
You guys, it would be fun to do. It would be. Do they podcast it?
No, they don't.
I mean, it's
it's
legit. The games are.
Yeah.
They're fun.
You might see a few on the NHL network. No. Have they done that before?
They might do. Yeah, I think they do some of it. We see. There's something for us to explore today.
Yeah.
Bill, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, wait. Thanks for putting on your old suit here and going back to being a nice radio/TV guy for us. You did a great job. But in all seriousness, great stories, great insight. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much.
We
Now, is anybody watching this?
No.
Oh. Totally not true. Totally not true.
I'm just kidding.
So
My wife's watching.
You shut it off 10 minutes ago.
The Price is Right is on.
Bill Zito, Blue Jackets Assistant General Manager, joining us here today on CBJ in 30. And the Blue Jackets, they'll be wrapping up here in just a bit on the ice at the Ohio Health Ice House. Then the next couple of days, Bill alluded to the 3-on-3 tournament coming up late Thursday afternoon. On ice testing tomorrow and in the morning on Thursday. Probably one of the least things you look forward to the least as a player.
Are you doing the 3-on-3 tournament?
No.
On the podcast?
Well, it'll be on. We're just not doing it.
Oh.
We're both out.
They're getting the varsity? Rimmer?
Yes.
Rimmer's
exactly.
coming in with the
Bringing
big
in
dogs?
lefties.
Yes, absolutely.
And what are they
What?
testing on ice?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Speed, yeah, some skating things. But one of the neat little things we did for the 3-on-3 tournament, I'm just saying this because I think the fans will appreciate it. All three of them.
What's going on here?
This place will be packed.
Oh, on here?
We
All
took
right.
we
They're in their
took
cars.
white goalie jerseys. So each goalie is going to wear a white jersey. We'll have 3 teams, white, red, and blue. We took the white jerseys to the hospital, to the sick kids, and had them decorate the jerseys.
Oh, that's
Nice.
fun.
And the kids, so kind of along the lines of the soccer goalies have that different or goalie masks where you can have your own designs. And the goalies will wear them in the 3-on-3, and then we'll give them back, and they can auction them off. So, when if
great
people
idea.
do come and they see, that's what's going on where the
say
jerseys
white?
are.
Oh, that is really awesome.
So
Well, so they don't-
graffitied or.
So they don't think the trainers mix the white jersey with the red jersey. Or
I don't
something when
know.
They wash them.
But we
Might be
we
onto
saw
something.
some yesterday in the initial stages of their decorating, and they were cool.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
So that is coming up on Thursday late afternoon. Again, testing during the morning tomorrow and Thursday. And these prospects will continue their work on the ice here at the Ice House. I'd like to thank Jody Shelley and Bill Zito for being with me. Jody, you're about to head off to your golf tournament this week, right?
Yeah, tomorrow I go to Nova Scotia, Bob, for to renew my passport. Thanks, Bill. And then
Well, that's why you're really going?
eat some lobster and hang out with the locals. So should be good.
So-
You?
I'll be back here tomorrow. We'll do CBJ in 30 tomorrow and probably wrap up that for the next couple of weeks. It's about that time of the year.
Yes.
It's about that time of the year where things start to kind of chill out. I still think, I don't know this for sure, but I
Unless
think
you want
there's
to talk about LeBron, I mean,
there might be a lot of discussion on that soon. Is there some kind of unwritten rule in hockey where general managers say, look, from this date until this date, we're not doing anything.
yes.
But we're on vacation. Because they basically do carve out about 4 to 6 weeks where they try to just get away. And then you come back and you go hard before training camp.
Well, they need to, Bob. If you've seen Yarmo, he's always got his phone. He's always fielding calls and thinking. I mean, I don't know how he shuts it off when he goes home, his mind mentally. So he's got the signings now he wants. Johansson's not that thing's not going to settle down, so he'll get away from that for a bit. And, it's really an important time for these guys to get away. The team's in place. The rookies have been here now, and they say they're not evaluating, but it's human nature to evaluate different things. So it's it's my first kind of off season being on this side. Usually I would just train every single day until stress, but now I'm going to get away too.
Mark has tweeted us and said the Traverse City Rangers games are usually on the MSG network, picked up by the NHL network. So see, there's an opportunity for us.
Okay.
We just have to make the most of our opportunity, Jody. That's what it's all about.
That's what
right?
we do every day, Bob.
Yes. That is exactly what we do every day. Before I let you go, since you're not going to be here for a while, now that things have kind of settled down, you look at the Metropolitan Division, at the moves other teams made. Some appear on paper to be stronger. Some appear to be weaker. The Blue Jackets kind of standing pat and just adding little pieces. How do you like where you see the Blue Jackets in this division heading into the training camp here early September?
Well, if you go back to the last game they played here against the Pittsburgh Penguins and their disappointment, there was no value in making it to the playoffs and losing to the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first round. I look to that to carry over. These guys watch the Los Angeles Kings. They watch the New York Rangers go to the finals of the Stanley Cup. A lot of ties there, as we know, with the Blue Jackets. I think that lights a fire in itself. These guys, the last two teams that were left on the pedestal, you get jealous. You get mad. You get angry. Those are emotions that you have at the end of June when that cup's handed out. Now it's time to get away and train and have some fun, and I think the Jackets are in a good position. They have the young guys in here teaching them the way it is going to be here, and you know, we saw yesterday Corey Trop, Jared Bull, James Wisniewski all in the arena down there working out. They were leaving. They interacted with the young guys. Kind of a family atmosphere here, and that's something you can hope for, but you can't tell guys to like each other, right? You either like them or you don't. So these guys like each other. I look at some of these teams. Pittsburgh, I scratch my head. They got the best, if not two of the best 5 players in the National Hockey League, Crosby and Malkin. They got great defense, and I just don't know.
Do they have great
defense? Well,
defense
they have
now?
one of the best defensemen in
yes.
Letang.
Orpik and
But now
Niskanen
they're just
both
a
gone.
mixed
They're going to go
bag.
with youth there on the blue line. Yeah, they are.
So they don't. I think in a 7-game series we would take them down, and then you know, I look at the New York Rangers. They overachieved, and I don't think they're. I think we're sitting good.
Well, I think they got weaker too, based
do
on
too.
free agents. I remember talking to you in Minnesota late in the season. You and I were sitting down after we arrived, and you said, "What team are you afraid of in the Eastern Conference?" We actually talked about the potential of the Columbus Blue Jackets making it to the Stanley Cup final. And I think the Blue Jackets are in the same boat as the Penguins, as the Boston Bruins, and really the Montreal Canadiens, where they all know that had things broken just a little bit differently, they could have been this year's New York Rangers. They could have been there.
And that's the disappointment of it all. You could talk to anyone in the organization. Couldn't watch the third round because there's the Rangers playing the Montreal Canadiens, and you're like, what the heck? Like, what is going on? And but it also shows you that you're not too far away. So I think that in itself. And then there's other teams that have done. I mean, New Jersey to me is an interesting place. They couldn't score. They got Mike Camilleri. They got who'd they get from San Jose? Guy who played in Minnesota. Havlat. So you know, and then you look at Buffalo. They're not in the. I mean, they've done some things too. So the whole Eastern Conference you have to look at.
They've done some things, but they don't want to do too much because Connor McDavid will be the #1 overall pick next summer.
Well, I think Edmonton will have that wrapped up. I don't know.
They always find a way, don't they?
It's hard to compete with the Oilers. Yeah.
Do they need another forward? Come on.
You have to thank them for Ryan Murray. Remember that.
Yes.
When we
absolutely.
see, what's his name? Who's the radio guy there? Bob
Stauffer. Yes. And he will once again tell us why Neil Yakupov was a better selection than Ryan Murray. But, you know, we will agree to disagree on that forever. And I think we'll have the last laugh on that, you and I, for a long, long time. So these prospects that you're looking at, will they be Columbus Blue Jackets in September, in October, next year, year after? Time will tell based on the work that they do. And this, for many of them, their first opportunity to come into an NHL building and skate in an NHL camp. So a lot of these guys will be returning in September for regular training camp. And don't forget the schedule. Tomorrow there will be on-ice testing here at the Ice House. That'll be tomorrow morning, Thursday morning. Then Thursday afternoon, the 3-on-3 tournament. Sonny Milano, a chance to see him in a wide-open 3-on-3 game, this year's first-round draft pick of the Blue Jackets. He and everybody else out there, 3-on-3 tournament coming up on Thursday from 4:30 to 6:30 here at the Ohio Health Ice House. So that's going to wrap up today's edition of CBJ in 30, which actually took about, 70 today.
Not bad.
So that's how we roll. That's how we roll from development camp. For Jody Shelley, I'm Bob McElligott. Thanks for watching Jackets TV, presented by Ohio Health.